While there is certainly nothing wrong with seeking a job, the reality is that you can't have an entire community filled with people who are only looking for employment. So let me stop on that point because there's 2 points I want to make on this. Does anybody know what the biggest, one of the biggest economic moves in the history of China was? What, like one of the biggest catalysts for Chinese wealth was about 30 years ago? Does anybody know um, what happened in the early 90s to China that literally just shot their wealth up dramatically? Anybody know? Can somebody guess? NAFTA? No. NAFTA murder. That was Canada and the US and Mexico. But good guess. It's kind of like NAFTA. They joined something called the WTO. Anybody know what the WTO is? Trade, Ryan. Ryan knows. Ryan's smart. Trade. They allowed China into the World Trade Organization. When China was admitted to the World Trade Organization, Chinese wealth shot up like crazy because now China was able to trade with the rest of the world. Now Chinese businesses were no longer being boycotted by the rest of the globe. They were included. They were integrated. There's that word. They gave them integration, but they were integrated differently from us. We were integrated as employees and as servants. We were integrated as renters and as consumers. They trained us to believe that buying things was a way to show power. They trained us to believe that our goal was to rent a nice apartment from a friendly white man and hopefully get a job working for that same man or maybe his friend, and that somehow meant that you were equal and you were included. And that is not how integration is supposed to work. The Chinese were integrated as business owners. They were integrated as manufacturers. They were integrated in a way that allowed them to trade. They were integrated in a way that allowed their businesses to thrive. That's why to this day, the Chinese they have one of the greatest, most impactful, most powerful manufacturing bases on the entire planet. The Chinese are playing powernomics on the 10th level. The Chinese, they're like, we don't want to buy your stuff. We're buying Chinese stuff. Their biggest goal, the president Xi Jinping just made an announcement where he said our biggest goal is to train Chinese people to buy from Chinese people. We want to make the products and consume the products. We want to do for real in real life what African Americans are doing kind of in theory, where people like Boyce Watkins are talking about it, but we know black people won't be able to do this for 50 to 100 years. But we're going to do it right now. They're literally practicing powernomics in China right now. That's what they're doing. And they don't want to buy Tesla electric vehicles. They want to buy BYD. They don't want to have Uber in their country. They want to use Diddy Cha-ching. They don't need Amazon because they've got Alibaba. So what they're saying is that we want to be economic players and we want to sell you stuff, but we don't want to buy your stuff. We want you to consume from us, but we're not going to consume from you because we know the consumer has no power. Do you understand? And so if you want to understand what powernomics looks like, what a power move looks like in real life, it is the commitment by Chinese leaders who are very strong, who are very clear about what they want their people to do, and how they're guiding them to an economic destiny that is greater and more powerful than the one they even have right now. In fact, in China, they actually have that law. Did anybody else see this? Where they passed that law that says that if you're rich, you can't be out here acting like a buffoon and getting on the internet and showing your wealth off. Did anybody see that? They literally were like, "No, you look stupid. Like, stop that. You look like these dumb Negro rappers that are getting online and saying ridiculous things where you got 45, 50-year-old men like Kanye West acting like little children. And we don't celebrate childish behavior. We don't celebrate that." The other thought that came to mind, I had another thought, but it ran away. So it'll come back at some point. Sometimes the ideas come from the ether, and if I don't write it down, it'll disappear, but it'll come back later. Um, Something else came up today, and I'm trying to remember what that particular thought was. Gosh dang it, I hate when that happens. It'll come back. It'll come back to me. Let's jump back in the book. Let's start reading again.